Okay, so thank you very much for being here today. My name is Alexandre Beauvais, and I'm going to talk about multiscale anomaly detection on attributed networks. It's a work that I've done with Leonardo Guterres and Jean-Charles Delven at UC Louvain. So finding anomalies in attributed networks is a very important task in machine learning, and often complex dataset can be represented as complex networks. And what we wanted to do was to make a method that was able to deal with the modular and multiscalar nature of complex networks. So we want to be able to find nodes that are anomalous, so that have attributes that are different than the other nodes around them, but we also want to take into account the irregular structure of complex networks. So to give you a very simple example, this is a co-working a network in a company. And as you can see, you can look at it at different levels. You can look at the level of offices, at the level of departments, or at the level of the whole company. And when we want to find anomalies, we actually need to define what is normal. And as you can see here, what is normal will depend at the scale at which you look at. So if we want to detect anomalies, we also have to detect the context for those anomalies. And for example, here you can have a node that is anomalous at the level of offices. So maybe someone that is very different than the other people in the same office. But when you look at the level of departments, actually this is there are many other people like him, so it's not an anomaly anymore. So we want to be able to catch this difference when you look at different scales. So to do that, what we use is the concept of graph signal processing, which is a framework that can be used to process data defined on irregular graphs. So to give you a very simple introduction to this topic, if you consider the classical signal processing, well, when you want to process a signal, actually what you do is you apply a filter to it, and to do that, what you do is the convolution between the filter and the signal. This is a well-known result of the convolution theorem, that you can also look at this in the Fourier space, where you see that the Fourier transform of the convolution is equal to the product of the Fourier transform of the filter and the Fourier transform of the signal. So now on the graph, well, actually you can also define a signal on a graph simply as a vector that has the dimension of the number of nodes of the graph and has a different value for each node of the graph. Now if we want to define a filtering operation on this signal, well, actually we cannot really use the convolution like in classical signal processing because it is not well defined on graphs. In particular, this operation doing the n minus m here, we don't really know how to do that for a general graph. But we can use actually the result of the convolution theorem to define what is a convolution on a graph. And we have to go in the graph Fourier transform, or if you want, in the Laplacian eigenspace, to define what is a filter on a signal defined on a graph. And to do that, you can then define your filter as a diagonal matrix in the Laplacian eigenspace. And then you just do the product of this matrix with the signal. So to give you a simple example, probably the most simple filter is the heat kernel filter, which is the exponential of minus t times the Laplacian. And it is actually the solution of the diffusion equation. This is why it's called the heat kernel. And in the Laplacian eigenspace, you see that you can write it as a diagonal matrix with E minus lambda t, where all the lambdas are the Laplacian eigenvalues. So what you see is that it also depends on t, and what it does actually is simply a smoothing of the initial signal x of t equals 0. So if you look at this example, you have a graph and a signal that is here indicated by the different colors on the nodes. And if you apply this heat kernel filter, what you obtain is that it will actually smooth out the signal until it actually becomes completely homogeneous. Okay, so now how can we use that to find anomalies in complex networks? Well, we want to find anomalies by taking into account the attributes of the nodes and also the structure of the graph. So to do that, actually, we build a weighted adjacency matrix, W, that has on the weight an indication of the similarity between two nodes. So when the similarity between the attributes of two nodes is high, we give a high value of the weight, and when it's small, we give a small value of the weight. And what it does is that when we then apply this heat kernel filter, the energy will diffuse very quickly along edges that have a high weight and much more slowly along edges that have a low weight, which means that nodes that are dissimilar to other nodes around them will retain the energy for a long time. And this will be how we actually find the anomalies. So to do that, we actually use a very simple signal, which is actually a Dirac signal. So it has 1 on the node and 0 everywhere else. And we do that for all the nodes. And we compute what's called the concentration after a time t for each node, which is simply, if you want, the norm 2 of the filtered Dirac signal. And then we define anomalous nodes are the nodes that have the highest concentration after a given time with some threshold that you can define. And as you can see here, the time t actually plays the role of a scale parameter. So if you wait for a longer time, you will actually look at anomalies on a larger region. Okay, so now we need a way to find the contexts that are associated with each scale. So what is a context? Well, actually it's a set of nodes S that are better connected to each other than to the rest of the network. So actually it's exactly like doing community detection. And in terms of this graph signal processing, regions that are poorly connected to the rest of the networks are actually regions where the energy is mostly contained after a time t. So we can use the same filtering, so the same process of heat kernel filtering, but now applied to a signal HS, which is simply 1 in the region S and 0 elsewhere. And if you want to define the excess energy in this region after a time t, it is defined like this, where you have the products of HST and HS is actually simply the initial energy in S. But when you filter it first, then you have the energy in S after a given time t. And you remove the final energy when the system is completely homogenized. Now to find a context for every node in the graph, we need to find a partition of the node in k different contexts. And to do that, we define this quantity that we want to optimize. So we want to find a partition H that will maximize this value R for a given time t, which is actually simply the sum of the excess energy in all the different contexts. So this H matrix is an indicator matrix which has on each column the vector HS here. But actually, you may have recognized something that is well known. So it's known as Markov stability when you don't consider filtering of signal, but the random walk on the network. And if you write the same thing but with random walks, actually you find the same expression where instead of the energy diffusing, you have the fraction of random walkers that start in S and are still in S after t, minus the same quantity for two independent walkers. And now finding actually the partition that maximizes this quantity is something that we can do easily with methods such as the Louvain algorithm. And it's interesting because in particular, if you set t equal 1, you find the well-known modularity. So modularity is a special case of this Markov stability. Okay, now to show you a real example, this is a dataset of Disney DVD movies co-purchase, which is very often used for benchmarking anomaly detection. And here what you can see is that in this plot we show in red the variation of information of the context, of the partition of context that the method finds when we run it multiple times. And when the variation is low, it means that we always find more or less the same partition, which means that we are at a relevant scale in the system. So actually, if you look at the minima on the red curve, you find the different scales that are meaningful for this network. And you see that we have actually 4 scales here. At the first level, so the smallest one, we have 9 contexts, and we find 7 anomalies. So to find the anomalies, you use simply the same process, and you look at the concentration of each node, and you look at the nodes that have a higher concentration than the other ones. These are actually the anomalous nodes. And then you can go to the next scale, where you see that now some anomalies have disappeared and the context have merged to form larger context, and so on and so forth, until you reach the last scale, where you have here just one anomaly, which is a node that is especially badly connected to the rest of the network. Actually, it corresponds to this DVD, which is the only one here that is a double DVD, which explains why it's actually very different than the other ones. So this method that we called MADAN for multiscale anomaly detection in attributed networks has been tested on synthetic networks against other well-known methods and also on real-world networks, and we see actually really good performance that is often better or comparable to other methods. There's also a really good running time. We can use Chebyshev polynomials to compute the matrix exponential. So this allows us to actually make it run very fast. So as a conclusion, we propose an unsupervised method that can detect anomalies and their context simultaneously and provide a principal definition of what they are, actually in terms of the energy diffusing. So this method, MADAN, can discover anomalies at all scales in a network. It shows better and comparable performance than other methods, and also it's efficient and easily parallelizable. So the article was published this year in AAAI. The code is available on GitHub, and you can also find more information on my website. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer questions.